The woman could do everything, bro. She always had everybody's back, and she had a huge heart. She cared about people. It's just crazy how fragile life actually is, and you just kind of see that the impact that she had on everybody. She'd be pissed if we didn't take everything she embodied and taught us and put it into practice and move forward.
You want to rewind a little bit, jump topics, and go back to December?
I'd love to. A timeline of the type of year that we've kind of had. The opportunity was there to go to the Atlanta Falcons. I'm sitting on my toilet. Coach Bisaccia calls me FaceTime. If I'm getting back in my brain in Nebraska, there's probably no way I'm ever opting out of playing. Hey, what AB did, I do not agree with. You don't look at that photo and think, oh, Nebraska is a football factory. Man, would Cincy beat Michigan? Raiders hadn't contacted yet, so it's okay, well, the only tangible offer I have right now is from the Titans, and it's holy shit. Welcome to another episode of Bussin With The Boys. I am your host, Will Compton. I am coming to you not live from Las Vegas, Nevada, in Austin Ekeler's house. We have a mutual family friend, Coach Ekeler, who was my coach in Nebraska. I believe it's his sister that is Austin's mom. So I was able to get hooked up with his house out here. So shout out to boy Austin Ekeler. I hope we beat your ass this week. But on a positive note, thank you for the house. Before we get into everything, this episode is brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced Silverado on the planet. It is hardworking, dependable, gritty, a lunch pail truck, just like lunch pail people who drive them. A strong football season calls for the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever. The available multi-flex tailgate with 6 convenient configurations will give you a step up on your tailgating game. And there's this primary tailgate, which opens up with the push of a button on the key fob or from the inside of the truck. The inner gate folds down into a large step for easily getting in and out of the bed. There's an easy access configuration where the inner gate folds down, allowing you to reach farther into the bed. It can also become a desk or a surface for your tailgating meal. The Chevy Silverado, modern and advanced with a ton of grit and a partner in getting things done. The Silverado is strong, advanced, dependable, all the good, redundant stuff we always say. Go to a local dealership near you. The boys love Freeland Chevy. Go out to Freeland Chevy. Seek Cameron. Let him know that the boys sent you, and he will hook you up with something. I'm sure they have tremendous deals going on with the start of 2022. But go to a local Chevy dealership near you. Get your butt in a Chevy, and let's have a hell of a year. All right, on to the episode. We're going to be talking through, a lot of different things. We can recap. We've had a hell of a year. I know it's been a few weeks with everything that has transpired in my life personally, with the passing of my mom. And I do want to say that everybody who has reached out and gave their sentiments and condolences and absolutely everything, man, from, comments and tweets and text messages, phone calls, voicemails, absolutely everything. People who sent flowers, just all of it, man. It, the support was definitely felt. And it's incredible to see the impact that, my mom made, whether you knew my mother or, you just care about the boy. Seriously, all that stuff really meant a lot because it was it was a brutal time. Not that it's still not brutal. I know it'll never, really get easy or anything, but all that stuff really meant a lot. The first week, honestly, for people out there who have lost somebody, the first week is obviously pretty brutal. I was, I guess we can jump right into talking about that stuff. But also, before, I know I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm a little rusty. It's been a little bit for the boy, so bear with me. What is happening right now is I am shooting this pod in Vegas. The boys are at the bus right now. We're going to kind of run this thing the way Dave Portnoy does on the Dave Portnoy show. Alex Lagos will be my Eddie, and the boys will obviously all be, the Eddies to Dave. And once I get into this stuff, we'll recap things. They'll reel me back in, ask questions, kind of guide the podcast, and we'll kind of get to this whole thing together. Boys, if you guys want to say what's up, I would love to see your faces because it's just me right now. You got Jack McPherson repping the 51 black and silver Will Compton jersey. You got Alex just being Alex. And then you got JP hubby over there rocking the 53 Compton, rocking the 53 Compton jersey. Um, but what's up, boys? Should I start with the December recap or continue to talk about, you know, obviously the situation with my mom?
I think you can keep hitting on that. We can go back to December after.
Yeah, so um, I was sitting in my room. We were getting ready to play Cleveland, and we think she had a blood clot. She had a knee replacement surgery, and obviously your chances for a blood clot can be higher than usual. And my mom, she was tough as nails, dude. She was the alpha wolf of the family, and she was quick to get off pain meds and brag about how she was walking. And I was in my hotel in Cleveland, and it was about 8:30. We were texting. She was texting me saying, "Hey, I want to send a little Christmas gift out to you and Charo out in Vegas, and we can FaceTime you guys on Christmas morning, and shoot me your address with a couple little heart emojis." And I had responded with the address. Oh, that's an awesome idea. Can't wait. Gave her the address to the spot I'm in out in Vegas, and got the read receipt that she had read it. And that was probably an hour before, I got the call from Wyatt. I was on the phone with it was either Taylor or Charo. I was talking to both of them throughout that night and just kind of catching up and stuff. And I got a text from Wyatt, "Hey, call me. It's an emergency." And call Wyatt, and he was a little frazzled, and he said it's mom. And my bad, fellas.
You're good, man.
But you know, he had told me that 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 mom was getting rushed to the hospital, and they had a little bit of a pulse. And you know, you hear something like that, and you're just like, not Kathy Compton, not my mom, not this person who is a principal of a Catholic school, um, are the family's rock. She did a lot of stuff for all of us, man. She did a lot of she was an accountant, so she did my taxes. She did a lot of my financial work. Anybody I ever worked with had to work with my mom because, she always had my best interest and, always had my back when it came to that stuff. With my dad, she did absolutely everything. I mean, the woman could do everything, bro. I'm talking event planning, accounting, taxes for everybody. She was a mechanic. She could change a carburetor, or I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but she could change a belt on a truck just because my dad wasn't able to. And instead of paying for a mechanic, she would get stuff like that done. And you hear something like that, and you're just like, you know, you're immediately just frazzled. Head goes everywhere. You're thinking everything. You're trying to. I call Charo immediately. Obviously, I'm in tears and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, your mom's strong. Your mom's tough. She'll make it through this." And it was like 15 minutes later, my dad calls me, and just broken. I mean, I couldn't understand him. He's yelling no, and she's gone. And I don't even know, man, like that, you know, it's over with. I look back at my text messages. Obviously, I'm in my hotel room in Cleveland. It's about 9:30 or 10 that night, and I'm, relentlessly emotional, and you just can't. You're so like sad and angry, and you're just, it's the worst pain and sadness I've ever felt. And you just think something like that can't be real. And I was trying to do anything to wake up to not make it real, and you're just yelling that you would do anything. And dude, it's just crazy how fragile life actually is. And it doesn't matter how, tough or anything anybody is, that you can just be gone. Um, there's something like that. My dad said he was in the office and he heard her making noise and kind of like a yelp or something. And he came into the room and, you know, found her, was trying to give her CPR and, shaking her and stuff like that, and called the ambulance. And by the time they had a low pulse on the way to the hospital. And she was gone by the time they got to the hospital. But I had no clue what to do. Hadn't I hadn't lost somebody like that, since my grandpa back in college. And even then, I mean, my mom is, outside of my wife, um, the most important person in my life. And I'm like laying there being emotional, and I just had no clue what to do. You're scared. You don't want to do anything anymore. It's just, how do I be with my family? How do I be with my dad? Because I can only imagine, I could hear my dad, but I know my brothers were there, and it's like, what can you do? And I don't know, lost. You're like lost. And so I hit up Coach Bisaccia and just shot him a message and let him know what had happened. And he immediately was like, "What room you in?" And told him. He came down to my room and just, hugged me, and it was just hugging me and sitting there with me for probably an hour. And he was he's a stud for that. It's He just sat there with me, was encouraging me to call the people and not to feel awkward or nervous or anything in front of him, and do what I got to do. And he was like, when do you want to get home? And he put me on the first flight out. I didn't really sleep that night, and went out to flew back out to Nashville, grabbed Charo and grabbed Charo and Waffle, and drove up 4 hours to make it home. And yeah, man, it was a brutal time. And I kind of just tell all you guys that stuff. I don't know fully why. I feel like it's good, obviously, to talk about this stuff. Um, I know I can't see the boys right now, but I know the boys are sitting there listening. I haven't really talked to them about it a whole lot. And, it's important to kind of, you know, I guess, talk through grief. And I promise this whole episode isn't going to be a downer the whole time. We're going to get into a lot of good stuff, because there is a lot of good things happening. And, you know, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about what had happened, and, the impact, she had on me, my family's life. That'll be forever, man. I mean, she had a huge heart. She cared about people. She was a hard ass. I mean, she was annoying at times. I mean, she can be mean too, even though she's a Catholic school teacher. Um, but you always knew where you stood with her, and she always had everybody's back. And you can never prepare for something like that. And when it's someone you love and someone who has shaped who you are as a human, um, you feel it in your core. Your body knows it's important. And grief is really just the reaction that you have from all that stuff. And again, man, when it's somebody that important in your life, and you try, and like, I'm somebody who clings to videos and audio and quotes and readings and absolutely everything, but you know to step forward, to put one foot in front of the other, and to find whatever hope or optimism you can in a situation. And it's hard to I don't want to say mask either. It's not like I'm trying to mask the pain, but um I've just, you don't like living in that kind of pain. And something I read about grief, actually, that I want to share, is actually from I was reading it online. But um grief is really just love. It's all the love you want to give. but can't. All that love gathers up in the corners of your eyes, the lump in your throat, and that hollow part in your heart. And grief is just love with no place to go. And that was something that was, not, necessarily comforting, but you like to be able to wrap your brain about around any emotion you're feeling at the time. And, again, I'm just somebody who clings to all that stuff. And the funeral was amazing. The service was amazing. Um, the church service, everybody was all time. What's crazy is the amount of people that were there that I just had no clue who they were or had never met them, and you just kind of see that the impact that that she had on everybody. I had to I spoke, I gave the eulogy, and that was brutal. But something that I know she would have been encouraged about and happy that her baby boy was talking about her that way. um and this is something that you talk to people who have had loss in their life. Somebody who's lost their mother, I know I had several people reach out to me that you know you just felt like they knew what you were going through because they had lost their mother around an age or being middle aged, like like myself. And those people helped me a lot. People are sending me, Brian Peters, you guys know Brian, he was just on the last podcast. He's literally sending me readings from Will Ebner's book, videos, anything he can to, because he knows I like to take my mind to different places and try and wrap my head about where you can find like hope and everything else inside of all of this. And people just, really rallied around. And I know this is something that'll never be easy, and it's not easy to lose anybody. I know when I was at the visitation, one of my best friends, his mom was there, and she had just buried her mom 2 weeks before that. She was like, "Oh, this is my second time in 2 weeks being here at this funeral home," and her mom just died of old age, and she was sitting there, and you can kind of see the water in her eyes, not from that, but obviously where she just saw my mom at the visitation, and she's there comforting us. And she brought that up, and I was like, well, how are you doing? And she just breaks down and starts crying. And I'm hugging her and stuff, and you just realize that it doesn't matter when it's, and the pain isn't necessarily different when you lose somebody that you care about. It just it affects you no matter what. And this will, like I said, I know this is something that'll never actually like be easy. You kind of just, my mom would be pissed if we just hung our heads and dwelled in something like this. And I know grief works different for everybody. um yeah, but I don't think it's anything you'll ever really wrap your mind around. But at one moment it pisses you off to think about because you just wish this person was here on earth. You'll drive around and listen to music, and I'll be I'll be myself where I'm enjoying something, enjoying whatever's I have on my phone playing in the truck, or uh laughing at something on Twitter, or having fun with the boys, whatever the case may be. And then you just get in those moments where you're driving and you're just mad, realizing that this human being isn't on the planet anymore. And um I don't know what everybody believes, but my mom being a Catholic school principal, you just sit there and you're like, I hope that whatever she believed um, is true, and you see him again on the other side. Um, she'd want us to live intentionally. She gave us a lot of answers to the test. So again, she'd be pissed if we didn't take everything she embodied and taught us and put it into practice and move forward. And I think inevitably we all know it's better to live life courageously than it is to live cowardly, than it is to dwell, than it is to make excuses on why you're so affected and you can't move forward. Um, and intuitively, I think we all know that. Um, we need to live life with purpose. I know that's something that you have to do in times of like that kind of any adversity, but death being something you have to figure out a way to live in and to live intentionally and to live with purpose. And I think you become hopeful after that. Not and hopeful is just, hope's a good thing. Maybe the best of things because when you have hope, it never dies. And so, you know, now we learn to live on earth loving my mom, and now we have to learn to love her uh in her absence. So, um, it's like one of those things too where you begin to honor her, and you find you find new purpose with things, and I don't really quite know what it is yet. I know it'll be something, and you ultimately have to spin a positive out of this, and if not, you sit there and dwell and you'll never get over it. And we're all about fucking being a wolf, and not in a way too to just like tough through it, but to use everything that I've ever learned from her and from anybody else and try and put stuff into practice and move forward. But and the last thing too, something that I was sitting there too. Mike Stud ended up reaching out. It's not Stud anymore. He doesn't go by Mike Stud. It's just Mike now. But he had shot me a message, and it really, I just it really resonated with me. And it was at some point we were the eldest. We are the leaders. When our parents go is when we truly become ourselves. Until then, there's always that little kid inside of us somewhere who calls mom or dad when something is wrong. This is essential in self mastery. It's your time. I have no doubt you absolutely body this and become even better. It's time to make her proud. I'm here if you want to talk, sending you love and light, brother. But it's like it's something like that too that resonated with me. Is it's true. There's a part of you in grief and all of this stuff that there's a little bit of fear of knowing what she did and how she was there for us and everything, that there's a little bit of fear on what happens next. Like, how do I do this or how do I go about that? And my mom did this for me and that for me. And, I think when something like this happens and you got to live a little bit more intentional with purpose is just taking on, more responsibility. And with that, I do think you become, you know, more of, whoever we're supposed to be on this planet. But yeah, man, that is I don't know how much time we took up on that, but that is my me just talking. I appreciate you guys listening. I know almost the waves were hitting me. It comes in waves. I really haven't outside of the first week, it's kind of more thoughts, but I feel like now that I'm vocalizing it to you guys and um especially the boys on the bus right now, it's like, I'm sitting there with my boys and you're kind of like talking through stuff and it just hits you. So I appreciate you guys for listening.
I think it's beautiful, man, that you're in a position to be able to share that with people too. Like obviously there's never a good time to lose a loved one, but I think that the fact that you're in a place in life to be able to understand a lot of these feelings and you have people around you to help you understand that and get yourself through that, but then also you have the position and the platform to be able to share that with people. And like I'll just speak for myself, but I would assume other dudes on this bus have kind of been impacted by this as well. It's definitely a hug your loved ones type of thing, and I think that I think there's never a bad time to get that kind of reminder out there. So props to you, man. It's been amazing kind of watching you get through this and work through this, and obviously it's incredibly heavy, but you're a guy who can bear that weight.
Yeah, I appreciate that, dude. Too, like, people will reach out and DM me, and I make sure not to like accept all of them, so that way I'm not sitting there just conversing back and forth with everybody in DMs. But I clicked through a lot of them, man, and there were a lot of people, whether they're fans of the podcast, fans of me from playing football, whatever the case may be, or just following me on social media. But there are a lot of there's a lot of tragedy that happens, and you help cope and learn through other people. So yeah, I do feel like, you know this is something that's that's good and can be positive for people, because you just have no clue what people out there are going through. And if it takes reading a story, reading a DM, listening to me on the podcast, or something that helps you wrap your brain around something out there, um, and people can do it through me talking through it, um, I think is strong, because it definitely was powerful for me. Like, it doesn't solve the problem that happened, um, but knowing you have people to lean on, and stuff to occupy your mind, and just stuff that somebody else might have learned through loss, is comforting. So yeah, I appreciate that.
You want to rewind a little bit, jump topics, and go
Oh
back
yeah,
to
I'd love to. I'd love
all right,
to.
cool.
I actually
Let's
I actually
how did
wrote a
you
little bit.
get out there?
What's up?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I actually wrote a timeline of the type of year that we've kind of had as Bussin' With The Boys, because this podcast has a lot to be proud of, and a lot to look back on, because I know, we were joking about it in the group chat the other day. What was I saying? It was me and Jack, and I said something about being prepared, and he made a joke about say that. What was it, Jack? What happened?
Let me reread it. Yeah.
You said I don't like to count my chickens.
Yeah,
It was
Will was
about-
just talking about being prepared and saying that privately Garrett and I would take the fall for not having an AFC South champ shirt on deck. And I don't count my chickens before they hatch. And then it just was kind of a always be prepared. We'll take blame and yada yada yada.
And then it was like, except for this podcast, because we go by the seat of our pants so much. It was something like that. It was something like that. And then when you sit, and I'm writing a lot of stuff out, because I'm like, man, we have to recap the type of year we had, because number one, we're going to be doing some awesome things in 2022. But to finish with the Titans last year, and go throughout, all 2021, and another successful year with our partners at Barstool Sports. Shout out everybody at Barstool Sports, man. They've been huge in our corner. They gas anything that we do. And we plan on doing a lot of big things with them in 2022. But through traveling to Arizona, because Taylor had an up and down year, man. I wish he could. I know we'll get to talk to him after the season, but I just think there's a lot of insight and a lot of things to learn with stuff that he went through as well. He had such an up and down year with the ACL, and it's never easy coming back from a major surgery like an ACL, and you put a lot of pressure and expectation on yourself, especially when you're, a first rounder with this organization, somebody who was the highest paid left tackle in the game at the time he signed his contract. And you were having all those Pro Bowl years until you got upended, and then you tear your knee, and you're trying to be the guy that the organization wants you to be. And with that, it's nobody's fault, but like with that becomes all those pressures and everything. And the way he's went throughout this year, and now he's standing 10 toes down with the boys looking at the 1 seed throughout playoffs, I think just speaks a lot to the adversity, that not necessarily that you have to go through, but just success and growth and progress is never linear, and it's up and down, and it's a roller coaster. And I say all that because the time we had to travel to Arizona, because Taylor needed to get away and travel and train elsewhere, and kind of get out of the monotony of Nashville and his knee, to shoot a podcast out there with Paul Bissonnette from Spittin' Chicklets, and making a couple episodes happen out there on the fly. Barstool helping us find a couple producers to set up cameras and everything. Signing with Chevy. We got to sign with Chevy, which is, obviously the strongest, best truck on the planet. But that was huge for us, man, because we were set to sign with them during the year of COVID, and that fell through because obviously COVID, everybody was pulling money and everything else. And that was a big loss for us. And, to partner with them in 2021 has been incredible. We got to do our 100th episode. I never thought we would have done 100 episodes when we were first starting on the bus in that gravel parking lot. And to do our 100th episode with Dave Portnoy was huge for us. We outgrew our old setup. We were in that shed, I guess you can call it, a big shed where the bus was parked, where you could easily break into it. People did break into it. Homeless people broke into it, slept there, took our gear, or took our merchandise, not our gear. Broke a TV on the way, but essentially just scooted the furniture over so they could sleep somewhere, and filed a police report for that. But we had a hot spot. We ran off a generator. A hot spot didn't even work most of the time. Probably more so because I struggled to pay the bill with that. But then we got to move in. We got to upgrade into a bigger spot, fully functional AC. Now heat, I think. Is the heat working? Heat works, right?
It's not cold in here.
It's not cold.
All right, good deal. Well, we got heat now. We got fully functional Wi-Fi and internet. We got to interview some incredible guests, people like Chad Ochocinco, obviously the King, Derrick Henry, comedians Nate Bargatze, Brian Callen, George Kittle and TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle and Rob Tunyon. That was an awesome episode. Max Crosby talking about his sobriety and his walk with sobriety. And now my man's in a Pro Bowl. Like that's an amazing story. I already said Paul Bissonnette, head coach Arthur Smith for the Atlanta Falcons, Chase Rice, Jelly Roll a few times. The UFC superstar dude who just takes, after that last fight, that war he had with Gaethje, we had Michael Chandler on, Johnny Manziel, Mike. I was going to say Mike Stud, but it's just Mike now. Quentin Nelson, Barstool personalities like Big Cat, Lil Sass, Roan, Brandon Walker, journeymen like Darren Bates and Corey Levin and Dennis Kelly, who Dennis Kelly is balling at the moment right now out in Green Bay for somebody who hasn't gotten a lot of opportunity this year and had to kind of wait his turn and be patient with injury and to play well. I know that's a great feeling. We finally had Dale Jr. on the bus. Our bus is themed Dale Earnhardt Jr., and we had Dale Jr. on the bus. Bo Pelini came and talked old stories. That was an incredible episode. Scott Frost and Trev Alberts, the head coach and athletic director at Nebraska. ESPN's personality Ryan Clark, Jeff Simmons, Roger Saffold, Spencer Lee, who updating right now, he, the stud wrestler who tore both of his ACLs and continued to wrestle and be the best in the world, is now undergoing ACL surgery for both of his ACLs, I guess, between cartilage damage and just the looseness, the instability of his knees. He's going to start getting that taken care of so he can look forward to his future in Worlds, the Olympics, and everything else. So his college career, I do think, is done, which sucks. I would have loved to have seen him because he statistically could have ended up one of the best wrestlers of all time. But obviously bigger things with Worlds and Olympics and everything else. I'm actually glad he's getting these surgeries because whenever he was telling me about it on the bus, you guys go back and listen to that episode. It was just like, yo, how in the hell are you wrestling on 2 torn ACLs? One of the greatest music artists of all time, Darius Rucker, Josh Wolf. We've had on a lot of people, man. And it's crazy to look back on and see. We rebranded Picking with the Boys into Bus Stop Sessions. I know you guys bust your ass to do that stuff along with TBD management. I know Garrett is producing season 2 right now, which you guys will be able to check out next Monday. But we've had people on like Ernest, who's blowing up right now, who's also been on the podcast, Jelly Roll, who's huge on YouTube, Lainey Wilson. Man, who's the dude? Who's the first episode, Garrett, of the season 2?
First episode of season 2 is going to be Breland. You might know him from his famous TikTok song, "Don't Touch My Truck."
There we go. We even got a DJ now. Shit, I got married. I got married to my wife, Charo, in June out in Big Sky, Montana. That was incredible. And now we're pregnant. We're like 7 months pregnant. I'm about to be a dad this year. Me and the boys, Jack and Gary, we went to the Barstool Classic. I don't know where we placed, but we'll go ahead and say we were in the top 3. Garrett and I went to Barstool HQ for a day in the middle of everything. I think on just some random Monday or Tuesday. We went out there bright and early in the morning, the earliest flight, and then got back that night. All of us went to PBR. That was incredible, getting hosted at PBR, that professional bull riding event in Nashville. Traveled to the opportunity was there to go to the Atlanta Falcons. I forget what week that was, but the Atlanta Falcons had contacted me because I was texting with Arthur Smith, and he was like, "Hey, are you ready to go? We want to bring you out." I was going to work out by myself with the intent to sign, and Charo, my wife, we were 14 weeks pregnant at the time. She was 14 weeks pregnant at the time, and she had a cyst. She had a cyst on her her ovary. So the doc was telling us how dangerous it could be if we get deeper into the pregnancy. She would rather take it out now than have to do an emergency surgery. You might not have to get surgery at all, but there would be she had like it was like 7 inches. There'd be like this cyst sitting on top of her stomach right now. Now that she's bigger and more pregnant, you would be able to see the cyst sitting on top of her stomach. And so we decided we were going to get that surgery. And when Coach Smith was contacting me, that was on a Monday. We were supposed to get surgery on Friday. And so I had to call him and just say, hey man, I hate to deliver this news, but I won't be able to make it out. And, I need to be there for my wife, and she's going to need bedside assistance, and we can't get family in town for not until like the next week. And he was super understanding. He was like, hey, yeah, do your thing, man. How about we come get you after the bye week? And I was like, man, I'm not asking for any favors, but that'd be incredible. I mean, we'd have enough time to get her through the surgery and everything else, because my agent was contacting me, hey, we got to get your flight. And I was like, Atlanta's a few hours away. I'll just I'll just pack up the Chevy and drive the Chevy down. No worries. And had all this anxiety. I'm like, man, what do I need to do? And so I got on the phone with Coach Smith, and we kind of talked it through. It ended up, he didn't even come get me a couple weeks later. They ended up picking up Darren Bates. So in my head, I'm like, did I lose out on that opportunity? I chose, I'm good with myself because I chose, to be here for my wife and my family. She was kind of beating herself up about it because, you're missing out on these game checks to play football and to be on a team. And, I had to talk her down and give her some perspective on, what if I don't play another down, and it was because of like the health and safety of you getting through this surgery. I think, we made the right decision. And with that, to spin a positive into it, the boys ended up getting to travel to those were the times we got to travel to Nebraska, which was an awesome game when they played Michigan, lost by 3. We should have won. The refs you guys know the whole story there. We got to travel to Tennessee at the Ole Miss game, which was incredible. Jack was, 6 to midnight the entire time. We got to throw all these tailgates. I got to be at these tailgates with you guys. And, I do big ups to you guys. I appreciate the hell out of you guys sitting on the bus right now, because we're not having any of these tailgates. We obviously don't have a podcast without you guys, but we all know that the podcast is the gig. But all the extra stuff with the traveling around in the tailgates and hosting and, being around the tier ones and picking up, I won't even say picking up slack, because I know you guys are personalities in your own right too. No disrespect. But yeah, man, it was just a crazy year. And the whole time it's like bouncing football and podcasting. And do I still want to play football? Was that kind of the last opportunity with Atlanta that I had gotten? And going into Thanksgiving, it was kind of like the date where I was like, I think this is where I'm going to draw the line in the sand, because at the beginning of the year, there were only a few teams that I wanted to play for. It was the Titans, it was Atlanta with Coach Arthur Smith, and it was the Raiders, potentially like the Packers or Washington, just depending on the situation. And I get through Thanksgiving and I get to go home and visit, and go home for visit my family for when the North County Raiders, my high school football team, was in the quarterfinals when I went home that weekend. And I was kind of just telling my parents that, I'm at peace with everything. Like, I feel good about this decision. I think I'm going to hang it up. Like, I'll still stay in shape, I guess, in case something happens. But it was better for me to shift my mind to like, I need to start thinking full busing, because if not, I was only planning out 1 week at a time. It's like school would hit us up. Kansas State wanted us to come out, and I couldn't plan it in advance, because you never knew on the next Monday if a team would call you and want you to play that week. So I could never plan out that far in advance. We're always scrambling to get, book guests, and Taylor was going to do the pod. Then then we decided that he wasn't going to do the pod. And it was just, there's a lot of stuff in between there that, I don't want to like take for granted or forget about that, because we continue to push forward and keep doing the thing. And then just when I'm at peace with everything, I'm sitting on my toilet having my morning too, and Coach Bisaccia calls me FaceTime. And I thought he was just calling he had a couple of the boys, like Alec or Foster or somebody in the office with him, and they were just going to bust my balls about something, because he had contacted me the week before just telling me happy Thanksgiving and everything. He's like, happy Thanksgiving, prick, and blah, blah, blah. And that's just kind of how we go back and forth with each other. And I sent him a selfie video, and I just got done working out and I was sweating, and I'll give it to Bloss so we can roll it too. But I was like, I was close on my face and I was sweating. I was like, oh yeah, you see that sweat equity, just making sure, I stay in shape in case somebody like, the Raiders want to call for, roster spot or even practice squad. Hell, I'll even be a janitor for you guys. I mean, you guys might have to up the pay. And just sending a goofy video back to him. And we laughed about it and everything. And he's like, oh no, you're too far gone. You're a celebrity now. You cost too much money, and just busting my balls. And so I thought he was just calling me to kind of do the same thing. And he's like, hey, can you play? And I was like, yeah, I can play. And he's like, all right, I think we're going to get you down here. We're hurting right now. We had a couple guys go down, and if you tell me you're in shape, I believe you. And, I know who you are and stuff like that. So we're familiar with each other. And he's like, well, I'll have our people contact your agent and everything else. Is your agent still Neil? Is your agent still Neil Cornrich? And I was like, yeah, it's still Neil. And all right, I'll just kind of wait. And I was headed in to work out, and can't really work out anymore because all this stuff is happening. I'm kind of just sitting by my phone like, hey, what's going to happen? And sure as shit enough, dude, it's like when one thing happens, something else has to happen. I get this text from, it was J-Rob. J-Rob texted me and he was like, hey, when you get a minute, can you call me? Thanks. And I just put, who's this? Because I didn't have his number on my phone, or I didn't save it from the last year when we texted. And I was like, who's this? And he was like, J-Rob. I was just put, oh, laugh out loud. Yeah, I'll call you in a bit. And so my agent calls me before I get to call J-Rob, like, hey, the Titans want to bring you in on Wednesday. This is on a Tuesday. Say, hey, the Titans want to bring you in tomorrow morning on Wednesday for a workout. You'll be working out with a couple other guys, yada, yada. And they'll make a decision to get somebody to sign somebody, whether it be on practice squad. The theme this year is you sign on practice squad, and then you use your elevations and all that fun stuff. You get 2 elevations on practice squad to be active on the 53. And then after the 2 elevations, you have to make a decision is if you want that guy on the 53 full time, or you're going to cut him and keep him on practice squad, permanently, I think. And so I called J-Rob, and I'm kind of talking through everything with J-Rob, and he kind of tells me the situation. I'm like, well, how likely is it that I'll be active this weekend or the next couple weekends? Because my whole goal was like get accredited season. To get accredited season, you need to be on an active roster for 3 games. That's how you get the benefits for retirement, pension, and everything else. So if I was going to go play for somebody, I wanted the best opportunity to get to accredited season to help long term, help with retirement, pension, and everything else. I didn't want to go and just be on somebody's practice squad, because it's a much better situation just doing Bussin' With The Boys and not have to look over your shoulder worrying about, being somebody out on social media and a podcast and everything else. So I wanted to kind of be worth it. And we're talking back and forth. And I tell him that another situation is kind of unfolding, so I'll keep him in the loop. Talked to my agent. Raiders hadn't contacted yet. So it's like, okay, well, the only tangible offer I have right now is from the Titans. And it's like, holy shit, the boys in Nashville are asking if I want to work out. And at the same time, the Raiders call bright and early in the morning, wanting me to come be a Raider. And I get on the phone with Rich and kind of talk through some things back and forth. And ultimately I, decided to come out to Vegas. And it wasn't anything like, obviously, against the Titans. Everybody knows I love the boys, man. But situationally, it seemed like the better move was to be, on the Raiders for what I was trying to, what my goals were. And you kind of didn't know past 1 week with the Titans. J-Rob couldn't really promise me or kind of tell me anything beyond that. He was just like, we'd love to get you in the locker room. And, obviously, everybody here, and we'd love to have you, this and that. And it turned out to be, the right decision, because the next day Zach Cunningham gets cut and falls to the Titans. They claim him off waivers, and that dude is a stud. I'm not taking anything away from myself, but Zach Cunningham's a stud, and that the writing would have been on the wall pretty fast for me there. But yeah, man, made it out to Vegas, flew out that night, Tuesday night, didn't land until like midnight or 12:30. I didn't get to my hotel until like 2 a.m. Have to wake up at 5:30 the next morning to do the whole, test for COVID, clear physicals, do all this stuff. And then I'm in the meeting rooms and everything with all the boys that day going through practice, just dehydrated, been on the plane for hours, no sleep, just kind of cramping in my calves a little bit. I'm like, yo, I don't know. It sounded nice, but I don't know if the boy can do this anymore. But after the first day, it was a lot better. You kind of catch your breath a little bit and everything else. It's like you have so much nerves, anxiety, and everything else that kind of comes with it. You're back with a team you're familiar with. A lot of the guys in the locker room. It was a warm welcome, and it was awesome, man. And then we go and unfortunately get our cheeks absolutely throttled by Kansas City, and we go out to the logo before the game, and I see on Twitter everybody's like, "Oh, it didn't happen before." Will had gotten there. They did this on the Titans, and that was only a couple of people. I'm not saying that was like some consensus across the board. This is Will Compton's doing, but it was just funny, man. It was funny that I was kind of seeing that stuff, but yeah, got beat by the Chiefs bad, and then we've went on a 3-game win streak since, and we are now in the super wild card in an extended playoff, and we win and in, baby. So I'll go ahead and stop rambling and talking. I'm sure we have an ad read, and I can let you guys back up or ask any questions or engage as much as you want.
What was it like getting back? Like, this is now the third year in a row that you've jumped into a team late in the year, and every step of the way the pod has grown significantly. What's back into the locker room with those guys, with the pod being where it is and everything now?
Well, if you guys remember the first time I went to the Raiders, obviously the guys didn't know about it then, but Max Crosby did. Max knew based on that trailer too that JP did last week, but Max knew. He was like, yo, you do Bussin' With The Boys. And I was like, yeah. He's like, yo, I love your show, man. And I was like, that's when you kind of knew, like, oh, damn, this is we got something pretty cool going. Now coming back, it's just cool, man. It's cool to know that you have something going on off the field that people jive with and respect and want to be on. And again, this is your peers. These are guys that when I was wanting to start the podcast, I had a lot of insecurities about it because not as much maybe to the outside, but more so like what will my teammates or like what will guys that, my peers, what will they think about me doing something like this? And just stuff that you get in your own head about. And so being out here now, guys talk about it. Guys want to be on it. And it's super cool, man. And like, coaches will bust my balls. And if, say I'm doing something at practice, we're watching film, put that on your podcast, put that on your little TV show. And we just have fun with it. It's cool, man. It's pretty surreal, but yeah, dude, it's third year I've just been jumping in and out of the league, man. Year 9, blessed and highly favored.
Little better setup than the extended stay?
Oh, bro. You can ask the boys, JP and Garrett, man. It's the hotel that I was in before I came in the Austin spot. So what happens is they give you a week or two of to stay at the hotel that they put you in the team hotel. And the first year in Oakland and Alameda, I'm at an extended stay out. Legit, you smell the cigarette smell in all of the material. Homeless people, like the whole nine. You smell weed, just busted place, man. I had ant bites all over my body. I had to move rooms 2 different times in that place. But I gutted it out from the end of October throughout the rest of the year because we're in California. Like, it was already like $3,000, a little over $3,000 to be in that extended stay, but that was the cheapest place and situation I could be in without like going to an Airbnb. Airbnbs were like $4,000 and $5,000. If I wanted to rent a place, it's like, then you got to think about renting furniture and just doing all this stuff. The extended stay was right there next to the facility, and I'm talking neighbors. So all I had to do was walk out the exit door and literally 2-minute top walk to the facility, getting in the door and being at the facility. So I chose to stay at the extended stay. And because I didn't have a car or anything either. So coming out here, it's like, yo, we're in this like casino hotel and you got like restaurants inside there, cafes, pastries. Like, not that I'm eating them because, in the NFL now, I got to like keep it right, keep it tight. But walking in and visually, like, what was it, JP or Gary? Wasn't it like a Lambo parked right there in the middle of in the middle of the hotel. Like when you come in the entrance, there's like this high-end car that's sitting there. Like it was just, dude, complete 180 difference from the Alameda extended stay experience. But that extended stay experience built me up a little bit.
Was crazy for sure. The hotel,
What's up?
The car in the hotel lot. I'm talking about the hotel that you stayed at, or that you were going to stay at.
Yeah.
With the car, they have what I guess it would be just like a mannequin in Raiders uniform with Will's number on it.
Hey, when we walked into the room, you know how they have like apples and oranges like in the room? Will had set up 2 oranges and a banana on his bed. Probably brought us out here.
Oh, dude, it was dude. I mean, it's been awesome out here, and their facilities, bro. I mean, my goodness, like their practice facility, the scenery out here. Like, I don't know for anybody that's been to Vegas. I've only been like once for like a bachelor party or something, and so being out here and seeing like the lifestyle and just kind of the valley, and you see the mountains surrounding you and everything else. The scenery is gorgeous. It's wide open, man. It's crazy, bro. It's a nice life to live out here. You like see when you're out for reasons of like the strip and bachelor parties and everything else, and you hear people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm local here." You're like, "Man, how can somebody live in Vegas?" Driving around on the outskirts now, you're like, "Oh, I can see why people live in Vegas." Like all the different things you can do, all the food options out of here, hiking options, scenery, everything else. Like there's everything out here. But it's been crazy, and I can't wait to have a home game to where I actually go get to see the Death Star and like be in the Death Star. I think that's gonna be pretty serious.
Oh, that's right. You haven't even seen it yet.
Yeah,
going back to ball, you guys were just talking about before we got on the podcast. There's a scenario, where you guys end up coming back to Nashville to play, right? What needs?
Oh yeah. So you could have the Boys Bowl going on in playoffs. So what can happen is this:
Counting chickens.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that, Jack. But we got to paint some scenarios here.
I want to hear.
Number one, we got to take care of business against the Chargers. It's great to be in this position because we control our own destiny. We don't have to, have other teams lose or anything else to happen other than us focus one day at a time this week and win this game. If we win this game, we are in the playoffs. So we're essentially both teams, Chargers, Raiders. This is like a super wild card weekend. We got the game flex of Sunday night, winning in for both teams, similar to when I was on the Titans in 18 and we played, who was it? The Colts, the winning in situation there. But it's good. It's awesome to be in a situation like where you control your own destiny, because I've been in other locker rooms and on other teams to where you're fighting at the end of the year and you need other things to work out for you. And it's like, it just sucks. It's like, let's just win this game and see how everything unfolds. To bounce back after what happened in Kansas City and string 3 in a row together is unreal. And the boys got a lot of momentum right now, and we're stoked about this weekend. But the playoff scenario that could happen is, let's just say the Titans, the boys win this weekend against the Texans. I know they lost the first game, but hopefully they take care of business this weekend. They'll get the 1 seed, so they'll get a bye week. The whole AFC will have to come through Nashville, which will be incredible for the city and everybody else. And we would essentially, if the Colts beat the Jaguars, they should. We'll be the 7th seed. We'll have to go play the Chiefs. As of right now, the Chiefs are the 2 seed. We'd have to go play at KC and play the Chiefs for a 3rd time, which I think will be a great game, especially after what just happened last time. I think it's, everybody knows it's tough to beat a team 3 times. And when you're so familiar with teams, I think it just makes for a great ball. We beat the Chiefs. We would then go to travel to Nashville and play the boys in Nashville. Now there's a situation where we could play them in the first week of the playoffs. And again, any coaches, anybody associated with the Raiders listening, I am not getting ahead of myself. I am just talking through these different scenarios. I know that this week is the only week that matters right now. But if the Titans lose to the Texans, we obviously take care of business and we beat the Chargers. If the Titans lose to the Texans, Titans become the 2 seed. We then go to Nashville and play the boys in Nashville for the first week of the playoffs. I think it'd be awesome as we take care of business against the Titans, to flip Brave the Bird and Jack and Garrett and everybody else in the stands. Just had that little shit grin, just like this little cocksucker out here, man. But yeah, I think that situation would be hilarious.
Yeah, do you think Garrett brings up a good point? Garrett, what did you just say?
I said, after you have that little shit grin, are you gonna take your pads off and get out of there like AB? Hype everybody up.
Oh man, dude. If that happened, I don't know, man. Hey, what AB did, I do not agree with. Is that what you want to? Is that how do we want to transition into talking about that?
What was your reaction when you first saw it?
When I first saw it, it was anger. I just, I feel like my man has gotten so many opportunities and chances to kind of recreate himself in this league. And last year with the Bucks, it seemed like hopeful. You know what I mean? It seemed like he, from what I've read, he stayed with Tom Brady. Like you get people in your corner, like you're trying to rally around and help, AB out because he had just gotten cut from the Patriots, had a lot of allegations coming out of New England, gotten cut with the Raiders. I have teammates that played with him, so I've heard stories as well about the type of stuff that happened here. And he'd gotten traded from the Steelers. So he's getting another opportunity to do what he is incredible at, and that's play football. I know he had a post recently saying like football doesn't define you or nothing. He's right about that. He's right about that. This game doesn't define us. It doesn't do any of that stuff. But I felt like for where he was at in his career, what I had read, like where he seemed to be at in his life, because he just wanted to play football. That was in his video. He just wanted to play football. And he had another opportunity. Nobody gets 9 lives in this league like that. Nobody does, man. And to be that talented like him, and you hear everything, all the good stuff about him as a football player too. Like, no, when he's practicing and playing, like he cares about this game more than anybody on the field. He's somebody that takes his game extremely seriously. And I've seen like when he was working out with Josh Norman, when Josh was on Washington, I would watch those videos and like, man, I'm following AB on Snapchat. I'm like, yo, this dude gets after it. Like he grinds. And that competitive side that everybody speaks to. I thought Ryan Clark spoke really well about him earlier today. And you just see that competitive nature, and to get another opportunity to do that, you win a Super Bowl, you're kind of in a driver's seat to where I don't know if you're winning another big contract. I don't know what the situation may be, but you're in a good spot to, control, to rewrite who you are essentially. And to see that happen and to see like the sideline stuff unfold with Mike Evans, and to see that a teammate's trying to help you out, to listen to all the teammates, the way everybody's talked on, being compassionate, empathizing with them, and all this other stuff, and hoping he gets, the help that he needs. And I'm not sitting here saying or diagnosing him with some mental problem or anything like that. I don't personally know him. I just know what I've seen. I know my experience in the NFL, and I know what myself and a lot of guys would give, that you have all these different opportunities that he's gotten and he seems to want, and just kind of take it for granted, and essentially give a middle finger to everybody on your team when you're leaving in that fashion. Like if you're upset and if it's something it's injury related and you don't want to go in, don't go in. Wait until the end of the game and then hang them up after the game. You could do a retirement like that, like Vontae Davis did. If you don't want to play the game anymore, if you disagree with the with the way that they were handling an injury, there's ways to deal with that as a professional, like as an adult, like you're a grown man, and to take off your pads and like have this scene and cause this scene and then start doing, like hyping up the crowd and smiling and leaving your team, like when your team is out there on the field. I just thought that's a clown move, bro. Like that's a classless move. And I think I reacted too much too, like more, I wanted to make a few people laugh. I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I actually do want to take down my tweet that I had, because I was like, God gives his silliest battles to his biggest clowns. At the time, I'm thinking it's funny and everything else, but you chew it all in and take it in for a day. And I'm like, okay, why exactly am I doing that? And outside of making people laugh and everything else, like, what if this dude is going through something? I don't know him. And I'm not usually somebody that like wants to shy away from anything I put out there, but I was kind of thinking about it. And I was like, oh man, I should just probably take that down. It was kind of like a reactive social media thing that happened. But yeah, dude, I think it's a shit move on his part, man. And to just leave the boys like that. And I know it's like, this is a game that takes from you. All they do is take from you. All they want you to do is get you out on the field as quick as possible. You don't fully know the extent of your injury all the time. They kind of keep it in house. They kind of treat you wrong. Like everyone knows this stuff about the NFL. And I'm with, the side of thinking for yourself and being selfish at times and thinking selfishly. I mean, shit, I'm on a podcast right now, a podcast that we built. Like, I'm all about like self-empowerment and everything like that and controlling your narrative and things. But I think, to do that, and he probably wasn't thinking about it, but it's just a big, F you to all, your teammates and everything else, man, to just kind of leave in the middle of a game like that. Because I know people try putting their arm around him. They try helping him. Like, I don't want to get into everything that I've kind of, who I've talked with and stuff like that, but you just, you hate to see that. And if it is something mental or something like mental health related, you do hope, something happens and he gets the help that he needs. And again, I'm not like trying to diagnose him and say that's what happened. I'm more on the stance of like, dude, you've had so many opportunities and you continue to show yourself team in and team out with everywhere you've been. Like this zebra isn't changing its stripes, and this dude continues to show us who he is. Why are we continuing to enable it, and why does everybody continue to feed into it? You know what I mean? I'm kind of more like on that stance of it. But if there's something going on, like I do hope that he gets help, man. Like everybody obviously goes through their shit, and clearly something is off because that behavior was just insane. I've never seen anything like it.
I wish we could see the Tom Brady chapter of this incident, because he stuck his neck out for this dude over and over again.
Oh, you talking about a man in the arena?
Yeah, I want to hear from Tom about this.
Yeah, I know he had a good message, and Tom is a great leader. And that was somebody, when I was listening to his message, that's actually what made me think about the tweet that I had too in response to it all. But yeah, you can just tell by the way Tom talks and other people have spoke, like it's not like people are neglecting it and not trying to listen to him. You know what I mean? Like I know, speaking with guys here who was around him, it seemed like he would get outraged over the smallest stuff, the smallest things. And, and again, like speaking on what Tom was saying, you can just tell by the way he's talking that he cares about the man. And it's not like people haven't tried, stepping in and listening and trying to see it probably from his point of view and just stuff like that to like help the dude along. And part of me hates even talking like that. Like, let's just hypothetically say he's listening and nothing's wrong, and he just wants to be this character that he's making. Like, you're just kind of like, man, I wish people would shut up about all the mental stuff. But you have no clue, right? Like, I don't know him. Like, I don't know what's going on. I just know from what I've seen from this dude year in and year out, and it always ends up the same.
He follows the pod on Twitter.
I know we had reached out to him before about possibly getting him on. I want to say it was wasn't it the time when he was on the Raiders?
Yeah, it was. It was shortly after, I think, Darren Waller came on.
Yeah, because Darren Waller had that stuff to say about him too, and like, it's not that. Again, you can tell that people do care, and but yeah, I know we've exchanged DMs, or I know the profile has exchanged DMs with him and stuff like that. That'd be wild. He comes on. We got a comp. Let's look at this tweet you had. What do you mean by that? But no, I would like, dude. Somebody was saying like, oh, it's Big Ben's fault. I was like, bro, I gotta correct this thinking right now. Like, what makes you think this is somebody else's fault for the way this man is acting? Like, I just think there's at some point, obviously, everybody's going to talk about being a professional. That's why I think that there's got to be something going on, because the behavior is bizarre. Right. He's acting out clearly. But if you are looking at it from an accountability standpoint. Like at some point, you got to be a pro about it. You got to understand the situation you're in and understand that there's a time and place for it all. And not only that, but you got to respect what's happening around you. Like you're part of a team. I know we're all looking out for ourselves. I know we're all individual contractors, but we're still a part of a team who sweats and does everything to try to get the same goal. That's the best part about football is you have this melting pot of all these guys from different cultures, different walks of life and everything else. And it's all laid and sacrificed and put aside. Not that there's indifferences, but everything puts all that aside and goes after one common goal. And you all bond that way. And to be in the heat of the moment and act that way and do all this and throw a tantrum and hype up the crowd and do all that stuff. And it just disrespects what your teammates are putting into this thing because it means something to them. And everyone wants to see you still there. And you're acting like everyone's against you and nobody wants you a part of that team when you know that's false. Like you're just telling yourself that, if that were to be the case. So, yeah, that's kind of those are kind of my thoughts on it. I hate it for the teammates and the guys who have to answer questions about it and everything else because they're a good football team who's going after a Super Bowl and you want to limit distractions and everything else. And I just feel like you disrespected all that by acting that way.
Did you see what Brooks Koepka tweeted last night?
No.
Said,
who's Brooks Koepka?
He's a golfer. He tweeted a hot take: AB will fight a Paul brother before the year is over.
Shit, man! At this rate, the way the simulation out here is going right now, I wouldn't be surprised at that. Are they about the same size as AB and Jake? About the same size?
I think Jake might actually be a little bigger. He definitely weighs more.
Because I know
Jake
AB's got to be
6'1".
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt
But
it.
AB's also probably 195, 200.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like all this stuff happens, and he drops a song last night. You know what
AB's
I mean? Like he's clearly like okay with this character he's created. Calls himself Super Gremlin.
Yeah.
God damn it, dude! What are we doing out here? Super Gremlin, and he drops a song and he's capitalizing on that. So the dude's clearly, he's all about getting bags. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him in some celebrity boxing match.
That moment's gonna live forever, though. Like that's got to be a top 10 NFL hijinks moment forever.
This whole week was there was a lot of weird things that went on this week. Just like it was a strange week.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I feel like JP's about it.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I liked it.
You like the AB stuff, huh?
Yeah, man. Why not?
What do you mean by why not? Let's hear the angle.
I wish I could show you the angle. AB is a very close friend of mine. And I actually
oh my God, what are we doing?
Man, just hang on. I don't know where we can
we can cut it in. Bless can cut it in.
Yeah, AB and I, we worked out together one time down in Florida. The work is done, man. Let them know.
Let's go.
Booming. And I'm not going to say he talked about this moment, but no, I'm just kidding. But
I was going to say, what? Come on now, breaking news.
No, I'm kidding. I think I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people are taking it way more serious than they should.
What do you mean by taking it serious?
I mean, it's just like he don't want to play football. He's not going to play football. I don't know why like everyone is up in arms.
Like you think just let him walk?
Yeah.
Like, why are you surprised type deal?
Yeah. Why are we surprised? And it's his.
I think people are surprised about the unprofessionalism we've seen.
Right.
By many people.
But who's walked out on a game before?
Like that one dude.
Like that though. Like across the field walked out on a game.
Yeah.
He's a better marker than one guy that tried to do it.
Yeah.
You talking about Vontae Davis when he just retired at halftime? He just didn't want to play football anymore. And if AB doesn't want to play football, then that's great. But and I think to your point of like people are making it super serious. Number one, it's a hot topic in the NFL. Like NFL is like the most popular sport. So, and this dude is an elite athlete who's had a resume and timeline like he's had. So of course it's going to be talked about. Like it's a huge spotlighted thing. Like it's like, Jake Paul being a boxer. It's like, oh, I don't know why we're making such a big deal about it. So what does that mean? We just let them fight and nobody comments or says anything about it?
Yeah.
It's kind of like this dude does something like this and an actual like with this again the entire story of it all. It's just insane. The dude like took off his pads, threw his stuff, and then was doing jumping jacks, hyping up the crowd, leaving the
Right.
arena.
Yeah, and I mean, like it's a spectacle, but I just don't think it's as serious as everybody is coming at it.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
guess
think
I
it
would
should
just
already
need to
be
know.
serious
I
news?
get
Yeah.
if the angle is it's just a game, like who cares? Then I guess then yeah, I guess you're somebody that doesn't take it that serious, then I can see why it's not that serious. But if you're like a football fan and watching the game and keeping up with stuff, it's like I would say it's a pretty big story.
I think it did. I think it lit the fire under Tom Brady. I think this is bad news for everyone in the NFL because I think he's going to be like, hey, you know what, AB? Look what you missed out on. I'm about to go get another ring.
Man, I'm excited to see, how Tampa continues to go without Godwin and AB because, they took over
Yeah.
the middle of the field with those guys. It opened up everything else for them. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Hopefully we'll get some
Do you
guys
think,
on in the offseason to where we can talk through some of this stuff.
to wrap that topic, do you think we'll ever see AB in an NFL uniform again?
I don't think so. I guess a team could for minimum, right? Like at the end of the day, it's all about wins and losses and taking chances, I guess. I mean, you see every year Josh Gordon getting reinstated for on different stuff. So I guess you never know. But I just don't think so because clearly the root of the issue has never been fixed for anything. Like to me, I just think that there's some self-awareness that he needs to gain just in life in general. That's just my opinion. Like I'm just trying to think if I was acting that way or anything else, and you blame or you create these stories in your head on the trainers were doing this or my injury was like, there's clearly some stuff you're just not taking into account or thinking about in a rooted way on why you're so affected by acting that way.
You want to jump to college football?
Yeah, we can hit college football.
So Nebraska.
What?
I just figured they'd come up somehow, so we might as well just start with it. No, college football for the weekend. Did you catch any?
Oh, I caught all of it.
What'd you think? Which one do you want to start with?
Being quarantined with COVID, there wasn't much to do. It's like you get out here in Vegas. Like, first of all, the backers are going down. We're going down last week with Vegas, and this was before the 5-day rule change happened with COVID. And I came out here thinking like, shoot, I might be playing this weekend because that's how limited we were on the roster with backers. So I come back out. Sure enough, start to get symptoms with COVID, test positive for COVID. And now I'm out in Vegas after leaving, the family back home with all this stuff with my mom. And now I'm out here in Vegas, like alone, quarantined, like at the house, which obviously you can be in your own thoughts and lonely and shit like that. But I felt like Twitter and college football was help keeping the spirits up, keeping me busy the whole time. But yeah, I caught everything. And we can talk about it, boys. I don't know if I'm overthinking it right now, but right now I'm thinking about Jack and Garrett sitting there ready to talk about it. And, I feel like I'll have to admit a few things, and I'm, I'll be man enough to do that for you boys.
You kind of got lucky though, because me and Garrett's boys strength and conditioning coach at Michigan, so we were polling for the Big Ten there. So if we hadn't had him, it would have been a bloodbath on Twitter come that Michigan Georgia game. But yeah, I mean it was fun watching it all go down. That I don't know. I don't have much to say besides the Purdue Tennessee game. It was heartbreaking. We always seem to get fucked in the Music City Bowl. It's kind of like another thing now. The forward progress rule, I feel like, has got to change. I don't know. I don't have too much to say about it. We've got a lot of hope, real hope for next year. So I'm okay.
I think the forward progress thing, like we saw with the Nebraska-Michigan game, how it does play a pretty big factor.
That fires me up that you mentioned that, Garrett. I do appreciate that because I was thinking about that too.
We're going to get there somehow.
Because we need to go back to that.
Yeah, it's better for it to come from you than for me just coming up with all these excuses. No, but that makes sense because I did think you guys were going to come after me for the Michigan stuff. And not that I was, I mean, I was surprised that you guys were coming after me at all for that Michigan just bloodbath out there. But yeah, that makes sense. I forgot that you guys do have a close friend that's a strength coach there. Yeah, bro. Tennessee game. Are you talking about Tennessee game?
Yeah. What'd you think of the call on the goal line?
I thought it was the right call. Hey, I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. Honestly, like it was funny because I would see people tweet at me and be like, "Hey, do you really care about the other Big Ten teams, or is this just like a front that you're putting on?" And they're really like outside of, like, I wanted Michigan to win because you guys are right. Like everybody who was saying it too, like what matters is the college football playoff and everything else. And I wanted Michigan to win that. Like if we could have went, had your guys' record starting off right. Now you guys are basically essentially winning the important games. Like I would much rather that happen, but just for the fun and everything else, like I was rooting hard for every Big Ten team just because we started off undefeated. And I couldn't believe Purdue came back. Like y'all were murdering them in the first quarter. And then they were coming back and I was like, oh man, I knew it was eating a jack. So that's kind of what fueled me, is just knowing like, I could just throw out a little jab or something like that. But that was a brutal call on the goal line. I couldn't believe it. But of course I was like, oh, this helps me with the story I'm trying to write right
now. Would you, what about Cincinnati?
They did better than Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, people are pulling up these stats. People are pulling up these stats of the semifinal on teams getting dusted by the SEC, or like really whoever's the number one team, or really it's usually the number one team, but whoever the best team is are usually wiping the hell out of whoever the 4 team is. And, Alabama, right from the get-go, when they lined up and had the first play, you're like, oh, these boys are way bigger than Cincinnati's team. You kind of just knew what would probably happen. The only hope I kind of had with Cincinnati was just the fact that Coach Fickle's their head coach, and I know him, and like Vrabe, I think, was his best man at his wedding. Like I know they're boys, so I'm like, they probably run a ship similar. They have because they coach with each other at Ohio State. And so I figured he kind of had the same philosophies and everything else. I'm like, these boys probably won't, fear Bama or nothing like that. And they'll probably do all the little things right and like do all the team keys, like all this stuff that I know Vrabel preaches. So that was really the only hope I thought they had. Then when Bama ran the ball the entire first drive and scored, I was like, oh, this isn't even going to be a game. And then you're just looking forward to the Michigan game. And then it's like, oh my God, dude, what are we doing out here? Just a brutal showing for anybody not in the SEC.
Do you think we'll ever see another non-Power 5 team in the playoff again?
I hope not.
That seems to be the general consensus across the board, that like this was okay, cool. You guys were cute with it. You tried, but like this can't happen again.
Yeah, like this was a great experiment. Like it was fun. Like, it was a good little science class experiment that everybody had in putting this team in, and you got to kind of see the outcome. But everybody coming after Michigan for the same thing. It's like, have Vrabel body bag Taylor out there and said, make it what do you say? Make it two sheep.
Yeah.
Bro, that was hilarious. Yeah, I mean, Michigan didn't look. I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it. Because
do you think that Michigan and Cincy, like, do you think that the losers in that should have to play so we know the real truth?
I would love that, dude. I really would. I truly, because I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, would Cincy beat Michigan? Like, I'm asking that question. Not like I'm not like I am I act blindly loyal to the Big Ten, but I'm sitting there like, would Cincinnati beat Michigan, or was Michigan just not ready to play?
That month break really affected Michigan the most because they were super, and then they had time to cool off, and mean, that's another discussion. I think that's way too long of a time to play, but that's, I think, what got Michigan in the end.
Yeah, that is a good point because I think number one, like they're younger than professional athletes. Imagine if we had a month break before playoffs started. Like it would just be completely different teams from teams that are building momentum in December and going into the playoffs. It's kind of the same thing with kids. Like, I mean, they're younger, they're kids. So I think that's a good point because even in the second half, like the second half was a good half of football. It's just there was no way Michigan was coming back because they were both playing good defense against each other and everything else, and they kind of got, you wish that was a team that would have showed up in the first half. So at least it's closer. Um, but yeah, dude, I don't know, man. And then you got all these high scoring games like Ohio State and Utah, and um, who else had who am I thinking of? That was an awesome game to watch. That they're just throwing bombs at the end and scoring. Oh, that was Tennessee and Purdue.
Oh, that one too. Yeah,
they were throwing bombs over Baghdad too and just scoring at will. But that's kind of my college football take. Big Ten started strong in the games that they definitely didn't matter. But if Big Ten's winning those games in January, those records look damn good for the boys in the Big Ten. If we were going like, one loss, like if Rutgers would have been the only team that lost, because the Penn State Arkansas was a good game. The Kentucky Iowa was a good game. So if you like gut those out, obviously makes for just, better firepower. But when we started losing those games and I got back to my phone and saw that Penn State fell and Iowa fell and everyone's just falling, dude. And I'm just like, I got nothing against these boys. The SEC's got it, man. They got it for another year and there's nothing I can do. And both SEC teams are playing for the Natty.
Yeah. Love it.
There's a couple more things I wanted to get on. One of them being Matt Corral goes down in the Sugar Bowl, and there's obviously a conversation about opting out. Kirk Herbstreit was quoted saying this era of player just doesn't love football anymore. What are your thoughts on players opting out from these bowl games if they're guys who have a clear future in the league?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a first rounder, it's kind of hard to opt into playing in these games. I do kind of get it from that standpoint. I know myself, like if I'm getting back in my brain in Nebraska, there's probably no way I'm ever like opting out of playing because you're just so, about the team and everything else. I'm not saying that's what it shouldn't be about. I'm just saying the perspective that I have now on how the big business of college football works and the big business of the NFL and how your body is your business when you leave college. Like your body's what's going to give you another year in the NFL, depending on how you take care of it. Like as running backs, you kind of see how they're utilized now, and you don't really need a running back for that long, and the tread on the tire kind of wears off quick. So, are you wanting to put over 100, 200, however many carries running backs get in college, or you want to put another year on that? And if you're healthy and you're going to be a first rounder or a second rounder, why would you risk carrying the ball more, putting more on the legs, and risking an injury like the kid from Ole Miss? I'm drawing a blank with his name. It's Matt Corral, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with Matt Corral, like Jalen Smith. I know he was a linebacker that came out from Notre Dame. He was a huge injury. I mean, look what's happened with him. He kind of can't run that well anymore. That's kind of been what people say about Jalen. But had he not had that nerve damage and that huge knee surgery coming out of college, like who knows where he'd be now. But it's tough, man, because I definitely understand both sides. But if I'm going to be pro player, you've definitely got to look at this new era of kids opting out, their senior year or junior year, like if they're going to be selected high in the draft, because that is in the best interest of that kid. That's in the best interest of their body. That's in the best interest of them as a business. That's in the best interest of everything else, because you see it with coaches, you see it with these schools and everything else. Like it's all big business, dude. And I understand people wanting the players to play, and it's honorable and everything else. But dude, honor doesn't get you paid. Honor doesn't get you more years in the league. Honor doesn't get you any of that stuff other than like this is a great intangible to have. Yeah, dude, it makes me think about. And another what'll be interesting too is like the mid-round kids. Mid-round, like if you're going to get drafted for sure, but you'll be a mid-round, lower round, like, you'll have kids wanting to play because they want to up their stock in a big game, right? I know we're talking about Matt Corral and Ole Miss, so you have enough tape of him against SEC talent, but maybe you have these smaller schools where kids want to show against better competition. So I think it'll be a new thing with college athletes opting out of games, but I also don't think it'll be as big as what everyone seems to be making of it. You know what I mean? Like, I think it'll just kind of be the new norm. Like, hey, this kid shouldn't play. This Matt Corral example will be the examples used from will be the example used for agencies and agents trying to recruit kids and trying to talk kids out of it. And I think coaches and teams will have to communicate and just have conversations about it and just understand each side of it. And if a coach really has their players' best interest at heart, I think these kids who are going to get drafted high, the best thing for them is to not play in the game because they have a future and a career to look out for. And not to mention, things that you're not even thinking about, family that these kids will be having one day, and everything else that's going to set you up for life after football. So, yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
Coach's perspective's got to come into that too, right? Because they probably got performance bonuses attached to winning bowl games, whether they're a college football playoff game or not. Like fans, I think, will obviously be the last ones to understand something like that. But you would expect like teammates to understand it, I guess. But coaches, then it's tied to money all of a sudden too for them. That's tough.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you got incentives in there with coaches because you get a few $100,000 bonus if you win a bowl game, and so it's in the coach's best interest to have all their best players playing. But again, from that, now there might be new negotiations and new language and contracts for coaches with this new era of what athletes might be doing. So that way they don't have to depend on stuff like that. And again, man, if you're a coach that's trying to self-serve, I think it'll be seen, and the player will know that and not, care anyway. I mean, who knows, bro? I think it's all about what that person's about. If you're a coach and you're about, I really am about the best interest of players, then, the answer is pretty clear. And if you go against that, you kind of know, like, it's all self-serving. Like, that's all everybody's trying to do anyway.
We have, do you guys have anything to add to that? I have one more topic that I want to throw at Will.
I had a question going on the kids opting out and stuff. Going towards coaches, what about the coaches that just bail before a bowl game or bail before a playoff game or bail before a national championship? Like, that's kind of bullshit. So, like,
100%.
Making the decision in that way should not be like. Once business got involved, it changed everything, and the players should not be hounded for not like what you're saying, like thinking about the future. If coaches are doing it, like, that's the coach.
Yeah. Well, like, and meanwhile, you're telling all your other students who are not athletes, like, hey, you should be preparing for the future and everything. And then now you're going to tell the student athlete he's got to suck it up and play. Yeah. I mean, Will, to your point, there's got to be some sort of like, I mean, letters of intent will probably look different for that type of stuff now too.
Yeah, I mean, you already see with the transfer portal and everything else, the way kids can jump ship. Like, everyone like, when a kid does something, you have, whether it's backlash or support, there's kind of still a mixed bag. I think it's trending more toward everybody understanding that, this is a business. Like, these players do need to look out for themselves. I think that's like where the meter's going. And for people that, are quick to react or upset, they're obviously just wanting their team to win. Like, they're wanting their colors to win. They're wanting, their team pride and everything else to prevail and win. And then when somebody gets in an argument with them, the first action step is usually comparing it to a coach. So I think that's just something that kind of comes with it anyway, because I do agree. I mean, looking at it from that standpoint, the coaches, if we're looking like, oh, the players should play for the coach because the coach is saying X, Y, and Z, like, that is bullshit. Like, coaches do jump ship. You see it with Brian Kelly, you saw Lincoln Riley this year. They're great examples. Like, you saw the one coach, was it Georgia or Alabama, where the coordinator's still staying there until he goes and takes over the head job at Oregon. I think it might be Georgia's DC. I think. But you see coaches doing that. Like there's examples everywhere. But yeah, if you're marrying it up to these guys should, lay it on the line for their team and their coaches and everybody who's counted on them for 4 years. It's big business, man. And it's just the unfortunate reality of just capitalism in the world that we live in and how we've kind of created this product of college football. I mean, it's the same with the pros and everything else. Everybody's looking out for their future, and you can't discredit anybody doing that. You can't discredit coaches doing that. You can't discredit players doing that. I think the coaching example is just easy to use to help people vibe with a player doing it. Because sometimes these, coaches obviously get attacked. People act like coaches are out there saying, well, coaches, there are some coaches doing it, but has Brian Kelly been seen or been caught saying like these kids need to stay and play in the bowl games, or these coaches who have jumped ship and left and went elsewhere?
Not that I know of. I don't know.
Think, who's the weird dude from he coached at Texas Tech and Utah State, maybe?
Mike Leach.
Mike Leach, yeah.
Another
another close friend that you cannot speak poorly about.
But Mike Leach, I think he came out and said these players need to be playing in bowl games, and somebody's like, yeah, just like when you left on this year and that year and that year. It's it's at the end of the day, man, you gotta be what's your best interest, especially in the business of athletics and in the corporate world too. Like everyone's pretty much kind of out for themselves in that business, because when you get cut or anything else, like nobody cares what happens, right? It's just business. Hey, you can't take it personal. It's just business. And so athletes need to kind of start to empower themselves that way and trend that way. And I think with that, like we'll become you'll be seeing new language and contract negotiations and everything else. And like you said, like letter of intents will look a little bit different, and the transfer portal and everything else, it's definitely going to be a different era of college football. And these kids won't like Kirk Herbstreit said, love ball as much. Just they're awake to a lot more stuff.
You're right, by the way. That defensive coordinator is Dan Lanning from Georgia, going to Oregon next year to be the head coach.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. When we were watching that game, he was coaching them. They did a little snippet on him saying, he's staying and coaching through trying to win the national championship, and he'll get to Oregon like after the season's over. I thought that was pretty cool.
The last thing I wanted to get to before we wrap is this dude Hunter Anthony committing to Nebraska, in full pads and gear.
Your boy.
In his commitment photo. What do you have to say about that?
Oh man, dude. If you're a running back, do you want that dude blocking for you?
Yeah,
I know I'm immediately reacting, and I don't know how good the kid is or not. I think he came from Oklahoma State. But as far as like the toughness factor, the grit factor, looking like, you don't look at that photo and think, oh, Nebraska is a football factory. You think, what in the hell is going on? This is why these boys are 3-9. We got that dude hitting spread eagle. We're talking sack on the floor, dude. And there's a photographer there that's taking a picture. I think I was texting with JP, and JP's like, yeah, photographer had to say, hey, yeah, man, this is fire. Like, what are we doing? And when that happens, if the photographer needs to say, hey, man, we ain't doing that. Or you need to go tell the coach, like, hey, we need to pull this Scally.
That's Big Ten football, baby.
Why don't you like it? I like it. I'm jealous. I saw it and I went,
I know you like it. It seems like you like it, Alex. Like you'd hit the splits if you wanted to.
I won't press you to tell me what that means, but okay. But my question is, how is this any different than your Peaky Blinders haircut?
Oh,
come on. What are we talking about? Peaky Blinders? We're talking about gang stuff, bro. We're talking killing. We're talking mob stuff. We're talking selling liquor and alcohol and dealing with guns. Not doing splits. Not doing splits in the ballet and everything else. There's nothing wrong with that stuff, man. I'm just trying to juice the entertainment factor for Bussin' With The Boys. Subscribe and rate 5 stars. If you guys are watching right now, go ahead and leave a comment. I hope the kid's a hell of an athlete. I hope he blocks his way, blocks us to a national championship. But my first thought was like, hey, what the fuck are we doing? Like I was saying, like I was saying, we got in the deed, the glory written somewhere in there. I know all the quotes written around that building, dude. And we got somebody fully geared in Husker gear, bro, wearing the N on their helmet, hitting the full splits, thinking it's cool.
What's the deed? In the glory. I mean, what?
In the
What are
deed,
we
the
doing
glory,
there?
man. Look it up.
I mean,
Will, you photo in front of the bus you do a podcast on, butt naked with just a flag over you. Proud alumni.
Oh man, no, you're right, dude. That's so funny. Yeah, you got me. We get to the point where I talk myself into all these corners, and there's nothing to do other than being like, "Hey, I'm just fucking around, just having a silly goose time," as D'Elia would say. But dude, we're trying to recruit. We're trying to recruit studs. Perception is reality, man. Like me being like that in front of the bus, I'm good with everything I've done in my career and everything else. Like I'm not trying to get dudes to be on my team. If I was, I'd probably carry myself a little bit differently.
What about us though? We don't want to be associated with something like that.
think of us.
Yeah, stop being selfish.
Oh, that's so funny, dude. Alex, why do you like it?
Because we're talking about it.
Oh, take it easy, man. Take it easy. You said you were with it.
No. I'm saying I like it because it generated a lot of conversation. That's why I like it.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
And he's just standing in front of the building. We don't talk about this. You don't tweet it. It doesn't go on the radar for us to talk about, and we don't get it. Instead, I know exactly who Hunter Anthony is now.
Yeah, that's true.
I like it.
If he gets these NIL deals, I might need a cut. We might need to get him on Bussin' With The Boys to talk about it. I wouldn't mind doing that.
All right.
Getting them on the bus and just be like, hey, like let's talk about this, man. Let's talk through this.
Yeah, let's go on the call.
I don't know, man. I was so I posted the photo first, and I just thought it was funny. I'm like, what are these photos that this dude posted? And I'm kind of laughing about it at first. I mean, I was laughing about it the whole time, but I didn't really think nothing else of it. And then I get people texting me like, hey, how you been? Other than allowing your school to have recruits doing the splits and taking photos of themselves, or saving your school on Twitter, or I had
That's what it became about you. That's what this was. It all came back to
100%. So it comes back, and then I get a buddy of mine, Calvin Noy. He texts me. He's just blowing me up about it. He's like, what is this? What is Nebraska doing? Like, this is why y'all are 3-9, this, that, the other. And I'm just laughing the entire time. I'm like, come on, man, stop gaslighting me right now. He's like, I can't believe you didn't say nothing about it. It's beyond me. He's just kind of sparking me. And so, of course, I take to Twitter, and now I've created this weird illusion from the whole thing so I can spew about it on Bussin' With The Boys.
I think you're 3-9 because you don't have enough dudes doing splits. That's what I think it is. Because this guy didn't play this year, right? So we'll see next year if these splits are what's going to save the day.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because if the splits save the day, man, where I'm going to learn how to do the splits, and I'm going to recreate that photo for him. And I'm going to be right, like JP said, I'm going to be right in front of the bus, butt naked, hitting the splits with the flag covering me up. Talking about instead of bigger, faster, stronger, bigger, faster, more mobile.
Mm-hmm. Bigger, faster, wider.
A little flexible.
Yeah.
All right, that's all we got.
You're more mobile.
You want to wrap us up?
Yeah. Everybody watching, listening, if you can right now, leave a comment, leave a review for the boys. We thank you guys so much. We're stoked for 2022 coming up. Bear with us these next few weeks. We're going to try and figure this stuff out, whether it's through StreamYard and everything like you guys are seeing, or what the case may be. JP and Garrett were out here a couple weeks ago before everything went down, because we were actually going to shoot some pods in this studio, so we wouldn't have to StreamYard or FaceTime or Zoom or anything else. But appreciate you guys. Big hugs, tiny kisses. Subscribe, rate 5 stars, follow us on all platforms. And again, continue to shout out the boys. We need you. We love you. We appreciate you. As always, be a fucking wolf.